Wonderful.
Thank you. Julie?
All right, Mayor Bliss, Mr. Cuevas,
Yes.
Mr. DeYoung,
Yes.
Mr. Faber,
Yes.
Dr. Gorman, Miss Grant, Mr. Huizenga,
Approve.
Mr. McComb,
Approve.
Miss Pugh Walters,
Aye.
Miss Seeger,
Yes.
and Chair Weatherall Neo.
Approve.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to see if there are any public comments. And so I didn't see anyone in the waiting room, but if we can just wait just a few seconds just to see if someone would like to make a public comment. Assuming there are no public comments, we are at the point on the agenda to have discussion items, and there are several. And so I would start with the Grand Rapids Community College institutional update from our provost, and I didn't see him on, but.
I am here. Thank you.
All righty. Hi, Brian.
How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. You have an official memo in the board packet. I've added and edited from that to share some comments with you on GRCC and an institutional update. GRCC began its fall semester 2020 on August 31st, and we included a combination of online and on-campus classes. We wanted to be sure we provided multiple opportunities for our students to start or continue their education. So it was important to provide students with options for learning modalities that not only met their needs, but their desires. Now, 75% of our classes this semester are offered using a distance format. So our fall semester on campus this semester looks very different than it has in the past, but we have brought instruction back onto campus at GRCC. We spent much of our time this summer preparing for a safe and successful fall semester, which included providing faculty with professional development and online teaching and learning methods, and setting up our campus and our classrooms for safe social distancing. We also developed policies and processes to reduce risk on campus as faculty, staff, and students returned. Of course, our fall 2020 class included our first Promise Zone cohort of students, and Evan Macklin will be providing you with an update on that cohort shortly. GRCC, well known for supporting students as they work towards their educational, professional, and personal goals, continues that excellent work. And we even added and expanded resources during the COVID-19 conditions. We offered and still offer all of our supports virtually to students. This includes our tutoring, advising, library resources, everything that they've been used to, they still had access to during the summer and will during the fall without having to come to campus. And this includes support for our Promise Zone students as they matriculated into GRCC. We temporarily waived our online course fees for students in fall 20 and winter 21, which could save full-time students as much as $200. We modified our tuition due dates to give students more time to pay for the fall semester. We changed our parking rates to a flat $3.50 daily rate, which allows our students to travel back and forth to campus, only paying for parking once on a given day. We distributed to hundreds of students food and baby items to students in need. And we added more second 7-week courses to accommodate students who are delaying enrollment. GRCC knows it is important to not only provide access to students, but to support their success and completion. And I am proud to say that through these resources and actions, we have continued to transform how we serve students. Finally, GRCC continues its work to serve students and the community. How we are doing it certainly looks a little different than it did a year ago. However, what has remained the same is our commitment to being relevant and responsive to those we serve. GRCC, like many, is looking forward to a time when we can resume operations in a way that is much closer to what we're used to. But we continue our excellent work and are finding new, innovative ways to serve our students and community even better. Dr. Neal, that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Brian. And next we have the Promise Zone enrollment update. And I'm going to ask Evan, our director, if he can share information.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Neal. Happy to be here with all of you again this afternoon. It's so nice to see everybody's face and see you all again. So in terms of enrollment updates, at the time that I wrote up this packet last week, Monday, we were at 238 students enrolled that were eligible, and that actually wasn't too far off from what was predicted. So, kudos to Canary Consulting and Josh for just the research that went into the development plan. I know in the development plan, we were estimating we might see about 267. We ended up at 238 as of last week, Monday. But as of today, I'm excited to announce that we are at 251 enrolled students. So that number continues to climb. And that partly is due to what Dr. Canetto just mentioned with our late starting courses. There are students still enrolling in those 7-week classes. And there were some that still got in last week because our policy technically says that students can enroll until a class meets twice. And so there were many students that were still able to find classes last week, as well as those that are still finding late starting courses. So those numbers will continue to fluctuate, and I do think we'll come very close to that 267 that Josh estimated, and that went into the Canary research. So in terms of just the breakdown, this was included in your packets, and I have it up on the screen for you, but this just represented the number of students enrolled from each high school, the FAFSA completion, and the number of students that matriculated from each high school. I will try to get more updated information to you. I would say I can get that to you in mid to late October once we have some of this information finalized, and once we get past that 7-week report registration opportunities that students have. So I'll get you this updated information. But as of last week, Monday, this also shows you the breakdown for full-time versus part-time. So we are seeing more and more students enrolling full-time, which is great news. That national research shows that students that enroll in 12 or more credits tend to persist and complete their degrees at a higher rate. So this is exciting news to see this turnout. And then, I'm sorry, I don't want to go too far. So let me stop sharing my screen for just a second, because I have some updated enrollment information in terms of race and ethnicity as well. So give me just 1 second to share something else here. I'm sorry, I gotta switch over to the other screen. All right. So hopefully everybody can see that, but this kind of shows you some of the race and ethnicity breakdowns too in terms of enrollment. And I think this tells a very positive story here, that the Promise is doing exactly what it was set out to do, to decrease the disparities that exist between students that are students of color, low income, and so we're seeing high enrollment among our African American and Black students, as well as our Latino and Hispanic students. And in the memo that I provided, I also provided some information around low income enrollment. And as of today, we have, out of those 251 students, there's over 70% of them that qualify for Pell. So I think what the board did with setting up the development plan has really done an amazing job in just increasing college access for our Grand Rapids youth. So hopefully you guys are all excited about this information. I know I am. What a launch that this was for this fall semester. And I have a lot of you on this call to thank, but I also have a lot of you that your counselors, your principals, your teachers that worked with the students in the spring, despite everything that was going on with the coronavirus pandemic. You guys all helped us achieve this milestone, and I just really appreciate your support. I'll take any questions if there were any. I think I see Diana raising her hand. Yeah.
So maybe I'm looking at this wrong, Evan, and please help me, because I'm doing a lot of things that are quite wrong these days. So I'm not seeing the breakdown of racial breakdown. And so maybe I'm looking at the materials that were sent out and looking at the screen. What am I not seeing?
Yeah, I just noticed the screen says that my screen is paused. So maybe Craig, I don't know if you, oh, here we go. There we go. I just figured it out. Sorry, I'm having the technical difficulty. So
No,
my apologies.
Okay. Okay, that helps, because that wasn't included in the packet, I don't believe.
No, it was not. This was, I wanted to provide up-to-date information. So I ran these reports this morning. And like I said, I'll get the finalized report out in mid-October once those late 7-week courses are, once we get through that time period. But as of today, this is the enrollment data right here.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Yeah, you are absolutely welcome.
And the mayor has a question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so first off, thank you. This is a great report. I'm really happy to see it. And my question is, and I know maybe this is going to be covered a little bit further, but I'm just curious, are we going to be doing some communication and celebration and marketing around this great report and the number of students enrolled and the demographic breakdown? I see in the packet were former kind of press releases, but I just didn't see something specific for this information.
Yeah, great question. And I do think that, so we just contracted with Reagan Marketing, and I think that could be one of the first projects that they take on is helping us get this information out to the public to share in the celebration. Our communications team here at GRCC can also help with that press release, but I do think we need to get that issued. So great question, and we will definitely move forward with getting that out into the news outlets.
Thank you, Josh. Evan, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask Josh if you can share some information on our fundraising efforts. Josh, next.
Yes, absolutely. So very short update. So we are at 2.65 million raised of the $3 million goal. We raised that from 10 different donors at this point. And we have enough pending to meet our goal. And so we are looking very good to hit our $3 million goal before the end of this calendar year, hopefully much sooner than that. And we are also working on how we're going to recognize those donors. And we anticipate that at your next board meeting, you will see a finalized proposal for how that will look. Yeah, so it's been great to work on this, and we're very happy with the progress we've seen so far.
Thanks a lot, Josh. And now we are going to get an update on the marketing plan. Mayor, and I don't see you, but Mayor, at this point, after the meeting, we can talk about what's the process for lining up the press release. But I would ask Evan to come up first to introduce Elizabeth.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again. So I did ask Elizabeth Bogo, who's our project manager over at Reagan Marketing. So again, in June, the Promise Zone board voted to approve Reagan Marketing as our partner. We did have some things that we wanted them to cover within the contract. So for example, we wanted to make sure that they brought expertise onto their team. Somebody that is familiar with and has expertise in terms of addressing communities of color. And so that was one of the things that we asked them to put back into their contract. We also asked them for an updated schedule. And so we also, one of the last stipulations before we signed the contract with Reagan was to have them undergo bias training, implicit bias training. So Reagan is here to talk about those updates and kind of to share the scope, the schedule that they plan to undergo. And I believe if Elizabeth hasn't been dropped off the call, I'm trying to look at the faces here, but Elizabeth.
I'm here.
Perfect. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth to talk about those updates right now.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I want to thank you for including me in the board meeting today. I want to share that the team at Reagan is really excited and ready to begin working on the communication tools to spread the Grand Rapids Promise Zone message to audiences throughout the Grand Rapids community. Having reviewed the current status reports from Evan, I'm so impressed with the number of students already enrolled for the fall semester. And we look forward to working with them to expand those numbers for the fall of 2021. Evan asked me today to provide a brief overview of our communication plan for the upcoming months. Before doing so, I want to update you on our unconscious bias training plan and the current job posting at Reagan Marketing. Mary Reagan Shapton, the owner of Reagan Marketing, felt it was really important for the entire team at Reagan to participate in training. We've interviewed 3 different training providers, all with individual strengths, but we'll be contracting with the Cultural Intelligence Center for this important education. Our team at Reagan's really excited to get working on this, and the training will take place in October. So next, I want to talk to you about our position for the Senior Project Coordinator. In addition to general postings, we've also been communicating this job position to key community contacts who may know of individuals who would be strong candidates. So if anyone on this call is interested in seeing the posting, it's available on our website, and I'm happy to share that link. Additionally, we'd really welcome you sharing this position with any potential candidates you may know. We plan to keep the position posted till September 30th. So before I move on to sharing our foundation plan, are there any questions on these 2 areas? Good. All right. So I'll move on. So as many of you know, the foundation of our plan was developed with the goal of creating materials that could be easily shared with the greatest number of community partners. In some ways, I look at it through a grassroots approach. In addition to reaching the obvious key stakeholders, such as Grand Rapids Public School students and parents, school administrators, counselors, teachers, and staff, we also felt it was important to reach other stakeholders in Grand Rapids, community organizations, neighborhood organizations, and businesses. We wanted to create something that could easily and readily be shared with anyone who may have contact with high school students. And we knew it was important to reach those students and families with greatest access barriers, and to provide information that took the intimidation out of the college application process. But before we start in the creation of materials, there are really important processes that our team needs to go through. So what we're in right now, and we started this as we worked on the proposal, and then now we're engaging back in it now that everything is signed and we're ready to go, is our discovery and audit. And this part of the process allows us to listen, learn, and ask questions. We'll work with Evan to identify stakeholders and data inputs, plus conduct additional research. Then we'll formulate our strategy, recommendations, and plan for development execution. Some of the things in our discovery and process include understanding everything we can about the Grand Rapids Promise Zone. It's completed the unconscious bias training as part of this. Interviewing communication specialists at the Grand Rapids Promise Zone scholarship eligible schools for their best practices. Reviewing all the media coverage, reviewing Grand Rapids Community College curriculum. Particularly, we want to learn more about the job training programs and the degree and certification programs. And then we'll take place in some stakeholder research, reviewing the FAFSA application process. We understand that this is one of the greatest accessibility barriers. We want to understand it better, and we want to learn, we want to figure out how we can communicate it through our tools in the best way possible. We want to research potential partnerships and support opportunities from community organizations, and work with identified potential partners independently or in outreach focus groups, whichever system seems to work better. So those are the 2 big areas of our discovery and audit process. Then we move on to our messaging platform and communication plan, and we develop these based on the findings from our discovery and audit. We'll develop a messaging platform and from there we'll be able to start on our phase 3, which is the creative execution and implementation. So once the communication plan is validated and approved, Reagan will move into the creative development to disseminate information materials to key stakeholders and launch the approved communication plan. So our key program in this plan, and I think why you chose Reagan, was the multilingual informational toolkit. This is a toolkit that's going to be tailored for students, parents, school administrators, community and business partners, and anyone else who it might be valuable for. It's designed to remove, as I said, the intimidation from the process, and it'll become the foundation of the Grand Rapids Promise Zone's communications. It's a grassroots informational campaign that will provide community members with baseline context for what the Promise Zone Scholarship is, who qualifies for it, and how to apply. All marketing strategies will be informed by and refer back to this toolkit. Some of the things that it's going to contain, and some of these may change with COVID, but one of the key things initially was it'll have informational posters for the GRPZ high schools. It'll have supplementary materials for school news, announcements, and bulletins. Emails and letters home for high school parents, FAFSA support, cheat sheets for FAFSA, and for GRCC, including information for all audiences to find support. Mailers that might go home. targeted mailing lists, informational brochure tailored for those with accessibility barriers, materials for teachers, guidance counselors. You know, and I'm just listing some of the things. The toolkit will have everything that we deem is necessary through our discovery and audit and through working with Evan. And then this toolkit will be able to go out to anyone in the community, and they can open it up and pull resources from it that'll be beneficial to them in showing the Grand Rapids Promise Zone messaging. It may also include a bilingual testimonial video, which will feature the success of the GRCC community opportunities and programs. So that's the main, you know, that's the largest component of our marketing campaign. Other things that we've discussed are some website audit and changes, PR efforts. That would be like the press release going out regarding the great success of the Promise Zone this fall. So I didn't want to go too deep into detail. I wanted to just provide an overview for everyone. And so from here, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but this is our process and this is how we hope to get started.
Yes, Elizabeth, can you tell me what the cost of the contract is?
$40,000 was the cost of the contract.
40,000. Okay. And were you the low bid?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Madam Chair, do you know?
Josh may have a
I
better.
don't,
Oh, sorry, Teresa. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. I don't know if they were the lowest bid, but they were the committee that reviewed the other applications. They felt this was the group that could help us get across the finish line.
Okay.
And I can help just, yeah.
Who was on that committee? It doesn't specify in the minutes. That's why I was curious.
Josh, do you have the
me,
list of names of the committee members?
I do. Let me just
Thank you.
pull that up while we're, but while I'm doing that, Reagan Marketing was, so we actually had quite a couple come in at 40 because that's what we published was our budget. So firms accommodated that. There were a couple that were over that, and they were also the highest rated in the other factors that we so Omar, while I'm pulling that up, I know Omar was on that committee.
Yeah, it was Omar, Jenna. I'm sorry, but the communications director from Grand Rapids Christian Schools, John Helmholt, myself. I joined late once I became the official director. Josh, and I believe that was the smaller cohort team there that reviewed those marketing bids.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Evan.
So if there are no other questions for Elizabeth, then we are going to go to the next item on the agenda, and it is Lisa Freiberger from Grand Rapids Community College.
Good afternoon and thank you. Just briefly, there was a memo in your packet, but one of the next to-dos, if you will, that was incorporated into your development plan was to begin to develop the platform for a future framework for student success and student support opportunities that are incorporated into that development plan in future years. So just an update for you as a board to let you know that we are following that. And in that, beginning to work with the executive team on an RFP that will go out to find a firm, individual, a consultant of sorts that can help the board work on assessing the current landscape of student support systems, identify gaps, and work ultimately to develop a future framework for the consideration of the Promise Zone, again, in accordance with your development plan. So we will get that moving this fall. The development plan has that work with the consultant beginning next winter and into the spring. So we are working to make that timeline.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Lisa, thank you. You know, I've appreciated your work so much over these years. I really have. So
Thank you.
here's my it's not a concern. It's really just something that I'd like for all of us to ponder. I have such confidence in the executive committee, so this isn't about that. It's just that knowing how important equity is to this board and to the whole system of the promise zones. This piece with regard to student supports is so critical and so important. And you know, there are so many community partners who are involved with providing the supports, and I just think using their expertise and leaning on them is like the 2 College Through College, the Hispanic Center, the Hispanic Chamber, TRIO, Challenge Scholars, First Gen programs, all of it. I just would like to see that reaching out to those efforts to help inform this, and I think that instead of I think that the whole board needs to be more involved in this, not just the executive committee. I just wanted to say that, because by the time that the recommendation is made and goes to the executive committee, and we won't have had the opportunity to review this. I mean, this is probably, you know, the distinguishing factor of the Promise Zone scholarship is really embedded in the support systems and not just a scholarship. So, and this has been so talked about so much between and around and among us, that I just think that this needs to really be the work of the board or a committee, not just.
Diana, thank you very much for that. And clearly, you know, the board drives this. We're simply trying to do the work of the board, and wherever the board takes this is absolutely the direction it should go. I perhaps should just make sure I'm clarifying. This first step is to select a facilitator of sorts, not to select the providers. So we will select, and however the board wants to do that, we'll select someone to help guide the overall development process. That will include talking to all of those, at least I would assume, would include talking to all of those organizations you mentioned to assess the current landscape, so to speak, and then work directly with the full board and many, many others to help develop the framework. And then the next step, once that framework is in place, at least as I understand it from your development plan, would be then to seek RFPs or providers, whether you need an RFP or not, that would help then actually do the work. So this would really be kind of a two-step process. We need someone that can overall guide the process and help develop that framework, and then as needed, put that out to bid. Does that help at all?
It helps, but that isn't necessarily what the memo says. So that's why I think I was confused. You know,
okay.
I think the transparency, the work of this board is so important in terms of transparency. And I guess then what would be the notion of who would be the facilitator of this initial process, and how would that facilitator be selected?
Yeah, and that would be, and I apologize if the memo wasn't clear, that's entirely on me. But we would envision, and again, based on the reading of the development plan, that the board would like to put out an RFP to select that facilitator. So rather than just picking somebody, we would draft an RFP, work with the executive committee or whomever you deem the right group to get that RFP out to select this facilitator. We certainly at GRCC or Evan, we don't want to pick that person.
No, I know. It's just, again, I just think that there you may want to seek input from the board on that as well. So
we'll absolutely look to your direction.
Well, one of the things Lisa one of the things you guys will do is put out the RFP, and when people do apply, we can absolutely bring it back to the board or whoever would
Yes.
like to serve on that committee. Absolutely.
For sure.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for Lisa or for Teresa as chair. What kind of a firm provides services like this? To whom would we send RFPs to? I'm just kind of curious, given the specific nature of what it is.
Do you want me to take a shot at that, or?
Yeah.
So we certainly, from the educational lens, would have educational firms that provide that type of facilitation service that would have some educational knowledge and background, which is probably critical. We would, through the college and probably through others in the community, know of places to get that RFP out, that would then make sure that we reach a very broad audience, so that whomever might have some expertise in this area would have the ability to bid on that.
Again, I emphasize and Tom, I appreciate you asking that question, because that I would like to know too, who has that expertise. But again, our commitment to equity is so critical, and the fact that we need to continue to develop trust within a variety of community groups as well. So whomever this facilitator is also has to, in my mind, needs to be somebody that people will trust, and that the process is quite transparent. So
I'm wondering too, if there is any examples of a framework like this, perhaps from some of the other promise zones that we might kind of take a look at. I too am having trouble figuring out exactly what goes in that framework, who would we reach out to, and who is available to us. So that might be helpful.
And I appreciate all the feedback, and I'm certainly writing that down so that we can consider. We have reached out to some other promise zones just in the entire development process, but can certainly do so again. And then Diana, just the equity, trust, and transparency.
thank you, Lisa.
I would just add real quick that this is certainly a conversation that's happening amongst the Michigan promise zones right now. There's actually email threads that were started last week towards the end of the week, and I'm seeing some of the same conversations that you have all brought up within the same email thread. So it's something that we're all trying to figure out. And I know that, Josh, you might be able to tell me or remind me of that promise zone. I think it was in Pennsylvania, was it, that mirrored the city of Grand Rapids in terms of just the population and
I would say Buffalo is probably and it's a Say Yes community. So it has a promise scholarship, but has a robust support system attached to it. And that's where it's been a while now. I know we provided some of those examples in our board folder, and we can send those out again. Evan, we'll talk about that. But those are very robust. There's a couple Say Yes communities, but I know there was some desire maybe to even travel to Buffalo and interview. But yeah, there are some great examples. And then, Grand Rapids has to, find what works best for this community. So that's what this work is. Yeah.
Thank you for the discussion. If there are no other questions, we're going to go to the action items. We have two items here. The first one is from Larry Oberst. I'm not sure if Larry is on the call or not, but it is an approval for the disbursements. Hey, Larry L. If you can walk through this and we can then take a vote on it, please.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, board members. This is just since the board meets on a quarterly basis, I guess it is. If you recall, you have engaged GRPS to essentially do the accounting and pay the bills, the promise zone. So we go through the disbursement approval process on my end, with my approval, and then each board meeting will bring back the disbursements that have been made for your review and approval. So the disbursements that are on this sheet in front of you, first one being to us, Grand Rapids Public School. You may recall we had fronted the cost of the Canary engagement for the Promise Zone. That was $60,000. And I believe that a prior board meeting, you did approve reimbursing Grand Rapids Public Schools for that amount. And the other interpretation services, as you are probably aware, these board meetings, we provide interpretation services. So those that speak the Spanish language can also dial in and understand what is going on. That is the interpretation services. We have a couple of outside vendors we use, and we just engage them for your board meetings, and that's just over $3,500. And then the other disbursement there is per the contract with the community college for Evan Macklin's services as director of the Promise Zone, $38,900. So those are the two disbursements that we would need to approve today.
Thank you, Larry O. If there are any questions for Larry Oberst, I would ask the committee members now. And if not, then I would like a motion for approval for the disbursements.
I move approval of the disbursements.
I
Thank you.
support.
Julie, can you take the roll, please? Julie Anderson.
Sorry about
That's all right. If you can take the roll, please. Julie, can you hear me?
not hearing
Something is,
now.
you're going in and out, Jules. I'm not sure what's going on, you guys, but
No, Craig is on the line. Craig, is there a way you can
okay.
help with the audio for that?
Yep, I'm going to attempt to get around via phone here.
I'm gonna have her come in here. I'll move over.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Roby.
All
Julie,
right. Mayor Bliss? Here, take my chair. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Take my chair. Mayor Bliss?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Cuevas?
Yes.
Mr. DeYoung?
Yes.
Mr. Favor?
Yes.
Dr. Gorman? Ms. Grant?
Yes.
Mr. Heisinger?
Yes.
Mr. McComb? Mr. McComb? Ms. Seeger?
Yes.
Ms. Seeger?
Yes.
Ms. Pugh Walters? Yes. And Chair Weather O'Neill?
yes. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I would like to just share with the board that I received a resignation letter from Dr. Ron Gorman, who was one of the founding board members of the Promise Zone Authority. And Dr. Gorman has decided to step aside with his role with the Promise Zone. And in doing so, first, I would like to just thank Dr. Gorman. He isn't here to hear this, but I will share, and I have shared. I just want to thank Ron for all the work that he did this past year and really helping us get this up and running. He spent a lot of time, did a lot of the legwork with us. And so we just appreciate all the support that Dr. Gorman has given to this Promise Zone. He is a deep believer in what we're doing and is a graduate of community college as well. So he deeply believes in it. And accepting Dr. Gorman's resignation letter from this board, I would like to introduce our new superintendent, Grand Rapids Public Schools, and that is Dr. Leadrian Roby. And I'm not sure if everyone here on the call has had the opportunity to meet Dr. Roby. We welcome her to the community, and she has been just a great asset in these last couple months with us already. I would like to make a nomination that Dr. Leadrian Roby joins this board. We have the one seat open, so I would ask the board to approve Dr. Roby joining this board as the newest member of the Grand Rapids Promise Zone Authority.
Support.
Jules, can you take the roll, please?
All right. We've got Mayor Rosalind Bliss,
Yes.
Mr. Cuevas,
Support.
Mr. DeYoung,
Support.
Favor,
Yes.
Dr. Gorman, Ms. Grant,
Yes.
Huizenga,
Yes.
Mr. McComb, Mr. McComb,
Yes.
Ms. Seeger,
Yes.
Ms. Pugh Walters,
Yes.
and Chair Weatherall Neal.
Yes. Thank you so very much. Julie, you guys, Sharon is out today. And so Julie, I would ask that you, if you would be willing to read to Ledrian, to Dr. Roby, so that she can become an official board member of the Promise Zone for the records, please.
I sure will. Let me grab my old paperwork here. One moment.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, you guys, on Julie's end. And thank you, Dr. Roby, for you and Julie being so flexible.
I don't have to say? Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to ask Dr. Roby to raise her right hand and repeat after me the oath of office here. I accept the appointment to the Grand Rapids Promise Zone Authority Board for the City of Grand Rapids, State of Michigan, dated this 10th day of September 2020.
I accept the appointment of the Grand Rapids Promise Zone Authority Board for the City of Grand Rapids, State of Michigan, dated this 10th day of September 2020.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and that the Constitution of the state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties required of a member of the Grand Rapids Promise Zone Authority Board of Directors according to the best of my ability and according to Michigan law.
I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties required of a member of the Grand Rapids Promise Zone Authority Board of Directors according to the best of my ability and according to Michigan law.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you all. Thank you. I'm excited.
Thank you
to be
both.
here.
Thank you, everyone, for that. And after that, I will ask if there are any public comments. And I didn't see any. Craig, am I missing something? I didn't see anyone in the
No, it doesn't look
chat.
like there's only one attendee in the waiting room, and I don't see any hands raised.
Awesome, thank you. And so I would ask for board member comments at this time, and I can't see your faces. And so Julie, I'm going to ask if you can call each board member for me. I can only see some of you. So if you can go around to the board members to make sure we don't leave anyone off. Thank you. I always feel like this is a Brady Bunch when I see you guys like this. I'll start off while Julie is getting ready. I just want to thank Kate Pugh Walters, as well as JC Huizenga, for working on the fundraising committee. You guys, they have just been awesome people to work with, and I would have expected no less knowing them both. But I do just want to especially say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you know what, you guys, they believe in this for kids and they put the work in. And so for Kate and JC, I just want to say thank you from me to you.
All right, we'll start with Mr. McComb for comments.
Thank you.
Once again, I want to thank everyone for the hard work that they're doing here in the Promise Zone. I just thank to see everyone else, to see how you're doing. Your faces look really, really nice. We welcome our new superintendent to the board. Thank you.
Next, we have Mayor Bliss.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna add my thanks to everyone who's worked so hard. You know, here, even in the midst of COVID, we have moved forward at record pace. And it's really, truly a testament to all of you. And I agree with Superintendent Neal. I really appreciate all the work of the fundraising team. It's been every month when we meet. I'm so encouraged by the work that's being done, and just really my heart warms at the generosity of this community and their commitment to children. It's really amazing. So thank you, Kate. Thank you, JC. And welcome, Dr. Roby, to the team. I look forward to working with you, and we're so glad to have you in Grand Rapids, and looking forward to a great year ahead.
That's right.
Mr. Favor.
Yeah, so I just want to congratulate Evan on great job with the enrollment and outreach to all of our students, and in getting such a great result as we begin this year, and under the circumstances. That's amazing work. I want to echo the efforts of the fundraising committee, JC and Kate and Canary, and I mean, that's again quick work of raising this nearly $3 million. So it's really exciting, and I'm grateful to all of you.
Next, I'm going to go with Ms. Grant. Ms. Grant, are you there?
She had to step off at 3:15, so I'm not sure if she's still on or not. So
Oh,
she
yeah.
may not be on.
Ms. Seeger.
You know, here are the silver lining in this crazy COVID crisis. You know, to do Zoom meetings, I know has been frustrating from a technology standpoint. And so what it helps though is that we discover our vulnerabilities, and with doing that, we discover our strengths. So, and I just want you to know that as I've been contemplating what this has been like for the last 6 months, I am likely going to write a book, maybe not, about how to run a foundation from your kitchen table. How do you like that? So, but welcome to Dr. Roby, and good meeting.
Mr. Huizenga.
Yeah, well, I just want to reinforce what everybody else was saying. It's a pleasure to work with this group, and we have such an illustrious chair lady in Teresa. She knows how to run a meeting, and she is totally fair right down the line. So I think a lot of people who gave because of our chairwoman.
Thank you.
Ms. P. Walters.
So this was an easy sell to a lot of people. It sort of told its own story. It's hard to turn your back on getting a couple of extra bangs for your buck. It's hard to turn your back on giving a free education to kids who wouldn't ordinarily have it, especially in these times when, as Diana says, all of our vulnerabilities come out more than ever before. And I think that what we've seen is that people are banding together in a way that makes me happy and proud. And we have a lot more banding together to do in this community to make it all right.
Yes.
So I'm happy to be a part of a group that is making education a dream for people. So,
Mr. DeYoung.
It's hard not to repeat everybody here. One of the things that I was thinking as I was listening to the reports today, and now these accolades and thanks that are being expressed, is just how incredibly generous the members of this community are. And I realized that 2.5 million or so had been raised by 10 people. And I think we all sort of know who probably some of those 10 people are. And I just am so incredibly humbled by that. Because people step up all the time over and over and over again in so many different ways. And supporting Grand Rapids area kids is absolutely a wonderful mission and purpose. And what our community does is amazing. And it can't go underemphasized, I think, in terms of what the impact these many individuals throughout our community have on school and in so many other aspects of our incredibly awesome city. So thanks to everybody, and thank you in particular to obviously JC, to Kate, and others who really spearheaded this. And that means a lot, and it is not unnoticed.
Mr. Corvallis.
Hi there, I think you called on me. What can I say? I think everyone has pretty much said it. I'd like to just reiterate a couple points. Evan, thank you for sharing the numbers. It's exciting to see the results of this first go around. And this reminds me that this is a life-altering, life-changing opportunity for our kids. And I just can't wait what this community is going to look like with a bunch of educated
Yes.
kids here in Grand Rapids filling the ranks and seeing all the success stories. It just gives me chills. So thank you all for your commitment to this work. I'm just honored to be part of this.
I'm going to step aside for Dr. Roby to provide some comments, and then Chair Weatherall will provide comments after her. So pardon me. Thank you all again. I am excited to begin this work with you and listening and learning. I think it is phenomenal that $2.6 million has been raised so very quickly. And to kind of echo what others have said, this shows the commitment of education, and it shows a commitment and investment in our young people. I think of this as work in action, because it will have the trajectory that we are creating for our young people and our future of our community says a lot by investing in our young people. And it's not just Grand Rapids Public Schools, it's the children of Grand Rapids.
Right.
That says volumes. I'm excited to listen and learn. And I would read the book on how to work and and raise money from your kitchen table. I think that's a bestseller. So when you create that, I'm predicting it's going to be on the New York Times bestseller.
Thank you. And I would just add thank you to everyone. I just believe that teamwork makes dream work. And I want to assure everyone that the next phase of this, you guys, is to help these children to be successful. And with that, it is going to take a group of people to help these children get across that stage. And so we have great organizations in this community that have worked with these children before. And there may be new organizations that are coming up to help with our student success, which is the next phase. And so I look forward to all of you working on that so that we can find out who can do this best, right? It can't be about just raising money and then passing these kids off, but we want to know who has been successful and how can you be successful in helping these children to get across that stage. And so that's the next phase. And I'm sure that everyone would be willing to help out and have a voice in that. So I just want to assure everyone that we will be calling to make sure that it takes this entire team, you guys, for this next piece to help these children be successful, because some of them are going to struggle. And we know that. And so we want everyone to come together to make that happen. Again, I say thank you. I want to give a special shout out to Bill Pink, Dr. Bill Pink and Lisa Freiberger. You guys have just been, partners like no other. And so I say thank you to Grand Rapids Community College. I was going to call you JC, but Grand Rapids Community College and crew for just helping us to make this happen. And with that, I would say meeting adjourned.